The Pynk this season is taking place outside of the club. We're in everybody's homes, the funeral parlor, the backyard, and the graveyard, everywhere. And we're dead smack in the middle of the pandemic, which is forcing us to be invited into the homes of the main characters. Now we get to see more of their personalities and how they're really living for real. The scene opens with Julian at a birthday party. And listen, we all know that this is Darnell from The Chi, right? But on PValley, he's Julian. And he's totally disconnected from what's going on, right? So instead of enjoying the festivities, he's on his computer. Then he tells his wife, or maybe it's his girlfriend, baby mama, I don't know, I'm not quite sure who she is, but the only dialogue that really took place is when he told her that he was going to the 7-Eleven. But something happened on his way to the store. He saw this huge billboard with Mama Sadie's on it announcing the opening of her new church, the place that she cleverly stole from her own daughter. And we all remember from last season that she outbid Mercedes on a piece of property that she had set aside for her dance studio. And we'll touch on that just a little bit later. So on one side, Julian has holiness whispering in his ear, right? And on the other side, he's got titties and hot wings that he can enjoy while getting his car washed. And it looked like he was struggling a little bit. We may find out maybe in future episodes, I'm not sure, that he may have had some issues in the past with struggling with ladies somehow. And I think that his introduction here in the opening scene is basically laying the foundation so that we'll know the state of the pandemic, because we don't see him anymore after this. So of course he pulled over to the car wash. There's this big, huge pink tent with ussyLand stretched across the top. He saw the girls in cages with glow heels on, but straight ahead it's Uncle Clifford, all bedazzled and luxurious, welcoming Julian to the experience. He tried to pull out, but Uncle Clifford said, come on in. So he moved out of the way, and Julian then saw what he wanted to see. So he decided to stay a little bit longer. He kept his hands on the wheel as instructed, well, for as long as he could. And what I really liked about this car wash is that you actually get your car washed. So he pulled in just a little bit more to see the main attraction, Mercedes, riding a carousel horse. And when the sparks came from them boots, Julian sparked just the same. And here come Uncle Clifford with them hot wings and some complimentary Clorox wipes. So I must say this was a very creative alternative to keep their customers safe while they're being entertained. Mercedes is still having trouble with the sore shoulder that she had from last season. And it's been about 5 months, and Autumn wants to schedule a doctor's appointment for her, but Mercedes professes that she's fine, so she left it alone for now. But one thing that hasn't changed is Uncle Clifford calling all the girls to the stage for their last dance. So Mercedes threw on that wig piece, switched up her focus, and she's back on the floor. Later that night, so that everyone's not confined to one enclosed space, they took Uncle Clifford's office to the backyard. And this is where Autumn is making sure that everybody got paid. And Mercedes took a look at her phone, and we see a lot of negative transactions on her bank account. They're going over how all the money's split up, and Mercedes is pissed because she doesn't think that Big L should be getting any of the cut because Big L ain't got no gussy. Mercedes had to take a moment to remind everybody that she's the one who's keeping the Pynk afloat during the pandemic. She said all the men come out to see the Mercedes experience, and she's barely making the kind of money that she expects. Then she threw Toy into the mix. More friction, right? And looks like some of the girls are waiting for Mercedes to take her last dance for real, so they can shine a little bit more. And while Uncle Clifford was putting out that fire, the other girls were watching Mississippi and Lil Murder's music video. And they all seemed to be really glad for Mississippi, and the compliments didn't stop for Lil Murder either, but y'all know Uncle Clifford. He had a problem with that. He turned that TV off real quick. And the reason that he said he turned it off is because of Mississippi and that she pulled a gun on Diamond. And that was all a part of the chaos that took place on murder night. And Autumn caught that Mercedes was in her feelings about the video and the glow up that Mississippi is now embracing. Big L and Autumn are looking over the relief loan denial letter. Apparently the SBA don't think that the Pynk is an essential business, so they didn't get the loan. And Autumn is going off because she gave Uncle Clifford $195,000 after paying off the previous loan that he had on the Pynk. So she want to know where all the money went to. There's only $25K left from the $195,000. And Uncle Clifford tried to explain to her that he had to take care of all the girls' expenses for the past 5 months so that they wouldn't be out on the street turning into prostitutes because of the pandemic. And all of that ran him $55K. He also threw in the fact that ussyLand wasn't cheap either. And he also had to completely renovate the Paradise Room because they had to clean up her ex-husband's blood and guts. So he definitely justified the spend. They are now indeed partners, and Big L had to remind Autumn that they hid her ex-husband's dead body, and there's no amount of money or partnership in the world that's worth that kind of risk. They heard a lot of commotion coming from the backyard, and it turns out that the governor is reopening the city and the lockdown will end next week. They also found out that Governor Tidell Ruffin passed away from complications from the virus, and now Autumn is concerned about what's going to happen now with all those casinos that the mayor was trying to open. And speaking of the mayor, we can't forget about Andre. Now, his wife is a nurse, and she's dealing with the pandemic firsthand. She entered through the back door of the house, took off all of her garments at the door, she took a shower, and then she realized that she was out of almond milk. And we can all relate to this because there are a lot of nurses doing this exact same thing, so this is very true to life here. And I really appreciate this because she's being very careful not to expose her husband to the virus. So she's calling him up on the phone so that she can avoid having to go upstairs. He's even living in another part of the house, the basement, and here her face is really sore and blistered from wearing that mask all day. So when she got up to the main floor of the house, she saw Andre playing video games. And I guess this is why he couldn't answer his phone, but she wanted to know how many other phone calls he had missed. She picked up the phone and saw that he had a ton of missed calls, namely a missed call from Haley herself. And of course she wants to know who Haley is, and he grabbed the phone from her. He called Eloise back because that's his godfather's wife. She broke the news to him that he had passed away. He told her that he's coming to Mississippi tomorrow, and his wife is upset because he's leaving, right? First she was really mad because he didn't even ask her how her day went after she lost 7 patients and 12 the day before that. Andre said nothing. And after she vented, she told him not to be late for the wake. And see, this is definitely the character of a nurse, right? Because they're very giving people by nature. Well, most of them. So she laid her anger aside and wished him well. Then we see Mother Woodbine passing out CDs of her sermons and food boxes to the people in the community. Guess she's still in celebration mode after opening her new church. And I did a video on this too a couple of days ago, and if you haven't checked it out, I'll leave it linked in the description and in this video right up above. So you can't be giving out food boxes and Lil Murda not get his. He and DJ Never Scared are in the kitchen creating beats and just vibing to whatever comes up in Lil Murda's head. The beats and lyrics sound kind of good too. So in the middle of all of this, Lil Murda had to take a break to see if Uncle Clifford got all of his messages. And he did. He got all of them. He's trying to get Uncle Clifford to talk to him, but apparently they haven't talked in months. He ran through all the messages, seeing if Clifford read them or not. He even tried cracking wig jokes and grandmama jokes, but none of it worked. Uncle Clifford never responded, and Lil Murda is in his feelings. Then DJ asked him if he talked to Uncle Clifford, and he goes, "What I'ma talk to him for?" Then he said, "I just thought that since the club was opening back up, that they'd want you to come and pack it out." And here we can see that Lil Murda clearly is not ready to go public with Uncle Clifford. He can't even handle a simple question. We also see that Lil Murda is on the job serving customers from the house. And this is when he saw a car full of nizzle fizzles pulling up. Then he had to grab his piece because he knew that something just wasn't quite right about that slow creep. Just wasn't sitting right with him. But one thing that they were doing is thumping Mississippi Pride, his new song. And the one in the passenger seat, he wanted to know when he's coming out with a new song. That one in the back, we gotta watch him. He looked just like trouble. And I really feel Murda on this one. I wouldn't trust him either. Then we cut to Autumn, and she can't sleep. She hopped up and banged on Mercedes' door because of all the sex noises. And she even turned the music up, but that didn't help. Autumn is in between houses right now, apparently. Mercedes is taking her in, so Autumn just gotta deal with what comes with it. She told Mercedes that she's supporting her statement that she made about holding down the club practically by herself. So she's gonna work it out where Mercedes gets a cut of the door on club night. And of course, Mercedes thinks she should have more than just the door. She also told her that she's going to be auditioning for some new girls. Mercedes is totally offended, but Autumn said that she wants to give Mercedes' shoulder time to heal. She had to remind Mercedes that their best girls were gone, Gidget and Keyshawn, aka Mississippi. And because Mississippi pulled the gun on Diamond, who she considers family, she don't want her name brought up in her house. Mercedes don't want no new girls, no new booty. She says she can hold it down all by herself. No new blood, none. She got this. And they don't need to worry about Mississippi. Mississippi is paying her bills with her OnlyFans and her website, Pushing Makeup. Her biggest fan, Derek, baby daddy, he's watching her every move, even when she's live right in the next room. And Derek look a little different, don't he? Is this a new character, or is this the old Derek with just hair on his face? I don't know. He just looks different to me. Then Mississippi finished her dance, and then she came into the next room where her real life was happening. And the pandemic didn't skip over their household either. Derek apparently is out of work, and he has a job interview at 3 o'clock. But Mississippi has a live at 3 o'clock. So here's the conflict. But she's telling him that it'll all be over soon. He'll be back to work, and she'll be back back in front of her audience. But Derek told her that their back room is all that she needs. So we can see right here that the city opening back up next week is already problematic in their household. And even though they're going to be experiencing like a lot of issues, I'm just glad to see both of their kids at home with Keyshawn. Mercedes is on Zoom with her students, and they're letting her know that their moms can't pay the monthly fee for dance classes. So it looks like she's going to be faced with dealing with less girls being enrolled. And in the meantime, we see Uncle Clifford and Big L revamping the Paradise Room when they suddenly feel a gust of wind come through. And I'm sure that he thought it was the ghost of Autumn's ex-husband paying them a little visit, especially after they hid his body. But no such luck. It was Autumn, and she stopped by to make sure that the room would be ready for the reopening. And while she was there, she noticed a splatter of blood that wasn't cleaned up so well with the bleach, so she told him to just paint the walls red and cover it all up. Little Murda is in the funeral home, and he's looking for his manager. Then his manager had a little surprise for him. He popped up out of the casket. Scared him half to death. He stopped by to let his manager know that he wants to go on tour, and the manager don't think that it's a good idea without Keyshawn, because she's the one who's keeping everybody's attention all these months, and neither of them can believe that Keyshawn is letting her white boyfriend hold her hostage in the house. So Murda gave her a call, but he must have forgot he ain't paid her from the last video. Maybe he should have thought about this before he called, but she told him that she has to pass. I don't know if Mississippi is a little OCD or if she's having a moment with these baby diapers. She put them all in the garbage and then she took them back out. And I won't be surprised if she's suffering some type of mental abuse that she's suffering from Derek. Andre finally made it to the funeral parlor to pay his last respects to his goddad. And of course, he's in disbelief because he thought that he was getting better, and they buried him in a green suit. Yeah, green. His wife showed up, and it turns out that she got fired as soon as they pronounced her husband dead. She told Andre that they needed another pallbearer. He told her that his wife is tripping and he may not be able to do it. Then he went outside to have a smoke, and then Autumn popped up, and he's just as tense and gullible as he was when they first met. He always seems to be a bit uneasy around her. He told her that he thought he'd kill her if he ever saw her again, but his mind has clearly changed. She started mesmerizing him with her conversation about different types of clouds and yada yada, like she always does. Then he jumped to how he felt about not being able to put his goddaddy in the ground. She told him that funerals aren't for the dead, but for the living. Then she turned around and left. Then we see the mourners of the mayor showing up all decked out in their lime green and yellow, paying their respects, and Andre came out anyway, just to lay his goddaddy to rest, exactly what his wife told him not to do. Uncle Clifford's grandmother could not miss the funeral. She watched it all on TV, and she wanted to know if Mookie was there, one of Tydale's baby mama. She really wanted to go to the funeral, and she thought she was finna drive. All to get a plate of them chitlins, and she thinks that the Rona was designed to keep black people in the house. Andre spoke at his goddaddy's funeral, and the new interim mayor also attended. Now we can see why Mississippi was shoving diapers down the diaper chute. She's trying to have a reason to go to the store, and it worked. He did let her go out to the store, but what's really crazy here is that he knows exactly what day Mississippi gets her period, each and every month. This trigger is crazy. I think she should just leave and never come back, and just send for the kids later. I really don't want to see him fighting her again. And while she's at the store, Gidget is trying to convince her to come to Arizona to dance. And as she's walking into the store, she ran into Diamond. And Diamond was working security for the store, but he can't let her in without her mask. And Keyshawn is trying to explain why she pulled the gun on him, and she wants to talk about what happened. But he was like, I don't want to talk about it right here, not at the dollar store. He told her to go back to her redneck baby daddy, and she's so far gone that she can't believe that Derek called him a gutter trigger. And she tried to give him that necklace back from last season, and he wouldn't take it. He said he's not interested in getting something that doesn't work. She really messed up when she pulled that gun on him. Now she's in bad graces with Uncle Clifford and Mercedes. That's a bad move. So while Andre is on the front porch of the repast getting chewed out by everybody for wasting his towel, Uncle Clifford rolled up, and we all know that he's there to get a bowl of Mookie's chitlins for his grandmama. And he hinted at the fact that the mayor may not be dead because of the shenanigans that he and Andre pulled while trying to buy his club last season. He wanted to make sure that there is one less problem that he has to worry about. He also had to make sure that it's known that he and Haley are partners now, and that she doesn't own the club 100%. He told Uncle Clifford that he doesn't work for Promised Land anymore. He said he got laid off as soon as the virus took over. And while they're talking, the interim mayor stopped by to show his condolences. And Uncle Clifford had to jump in to get his political out of the way, right? Uncle Clifford said he's going to put his name on the ballot to run run as mayor against him, and I'm sure he meant this jokingly. He told him that the referendum that he and Pastor Woodbine had was going to be under his name, and he wondered how the people in the town were going to react to it. He told him that he was committed to honoring the former mayor's legacy, basically co-signing everything that he wanted to do to bring prosperity back to the town. Uncle Clifford got his bowl of chitlins and he left. And Andre doesn't trust his interim mayor, and he don't want to take any part in helping him to continue with the mayor's plan. Mississippi got up in the middle of the night to tend to the baby, and then she started telling her this bedtime story of her being a little girl and how she longed for hair like hers. She also told her that her sister went to the store for bundles and braided them all into her hair. She was telling her how the hair felt and how it all fell to the floor, just giving it that Rapunzel type energy. And then the baby fell asleep. And I'm wondering if Mississippi has some sort of self-hate here with her hair. I don't know. But this will explain how she ended up with an abusive white boy for a baby daddy. So Andre is still hanging around trying to help Mookie to clean up the house, and she's letting him stay there instead of staying at a hotel. Turns out that everybody moved out of the house during the pandemic. And I wouldn't be surprised if Andre wanted to leave Atlanta and take up residence in Mississippi because he's never home, right? And this is a perfect housing opportunity for him to do so. Then there's a mysterious knock at the door. And it's accompanied by a retainer for him to try to convince Autumn to sell the property for the waterfront casino. And this guy knows that Uncle Clifford ain't budging, but he does know that Andre can convince Autumn to sell. And this little retainer here will convince him to do just that. And it looks like Autumn is trying to have some type of bonding time with Mercedes with movie night at the house. And while she's showing all the signs of disinterest in the movie by being on her phone, she saw the post that Autumn made to audition new girls for the club. And Mercedes went off. She's upset because with the 6 girls left at the club, it's already a stretch trying to split the money, right? But Autumn is looking at it from a business standpoint. She knows that they have to make changes in order to keep the club open. And one way of doing this is to get new girls, bring some new energy, bring in some new money. And I feel Autumn on this. I do, because I too put money into my business right before the virus hit, and then the world shut down. No one expected that. So now she's coming up with ideas that she thinks will work in the long run with keeping the club doors open. And Autumn threw up the fact that she's the owner after Mercedes wanted to know if she cleared the auditions with Uncle Clifford. Then she started singing slave songs, mimicking the fact that she now has to follow Autumn's lead and adhere to everything that she says. And I know it's hard for Mercedes because she and Autumn are bumping heads on the business side. And she's afraid that she's going to lose her headliner status if new girls are coming aboard. And in our final scene, Lil Murda got a text from Mississippi, and she's taking him up on his offer to do a 12-city tour. And of course, he's very happy about this. Now he has a leg to stand on with showcasing his new music. And that concludes my review of season 2 of P-Valley episode number 1. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. You know I'd appreciate it. And if you're a P-Valley fan, go ahead and sub to the channel because I do videos like this all the time. Thank you so much for joining me on today's episode of Ruthless TV, and I'll see you on the next one.